Welcome to Behind the Mic with AudioFile magazine. I'm Joe Reed, and I have Kendra Winchester with me. She's with me for the whole week. She's a contributor to AudioFile. Hello, Kendra.
Hello, Joe. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. What about you?
Yeah, I'm excited. Some of my most anticipated books are finally out, and of course, they have wonderful audiobooks. So I'm excited to talk about them today.
Okay, begin.
All right, so I absolutely adore Eowyn Ivey. I first listened to The Snow Child, I don't know how many years ago. And so I check her social media so often for a new novel. And finally, she was like, I have a new, novel coming out, Black Woods, Blue Sky. And the audiobook is performed by Rebecca Lowman. And it just came out in the last several weeks. And so as soon as I got my hot little hands on it, I was listening to this audiobook because I'm just so excited for her stories.
Now, she was a Pulitzer Prize finalist for The Snow Child.
Yes, yes, and she kind of specializes in stories told in rural Alaska, and she does a lot of historical fiction, but this is one of her first more modern novels.
So tell us about this, please.
So this is a couple decades ago. So this is about Birdie, who's a single mom, and she works at this lodge in rural Alaska, and she's a waitress, and she does that to make money to, support her child, Emaleen, and she has this longing to live out in the middle of nowhere, rural Alaska, in a cabin somewhere, and she can't really describe what this longing is. But she meets this man named Arthur, and he's very quiet. It's almost like love at first sight, and she just becomes smitten with this man and he with her, and they fall in love, and they move to his cabin in the middle of rural Alaska on a mountain, and that's really the story. There is always some kind of supernatural or fabulous elements in Eowyn Ivey's stories, so that does play a part, but I don't wanna give any spoilers for our listeners.
Yeah, she's so gifted writing about nature with these traces of mysticism and folklore.
Yes, yes, and there's always those hints of folk tales and just these otherworldly elements, and she's able to, like, seamlessly weave them into the story, and you're just like, "Okay, yes," like, it's like, this makes sense in the context of her storytelling.
And let's talk about Rebecca Lowman. Now, she narrated The Limits, which was one of AudioFile's best of last year.
I love the way that she's able to capture the atmosphere of Alaska. It's such an important part of the story. You have to be able to create that, like, atmosphere, and Eowyn Ivey's so detailed in the exact, like, flora and fauna and all this different things that are in the wilderness, and she just really her performance, like, sucks you in, and, you just feel like you're right there on a mountain in Alaska.
Well, why don't we hear a little? Do you have to set this up?
Yeah, so this is where Birdie is taking a walk in the morning, and she's gonna go fishing.
All right. This is Black Woods, Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey, and it's read by Rebecca Lowman.
The trail into the woods led to Sid's place, but she wouldn't pester him this early in the morning. Instead, she followed it a short way through the trees, and then she left the path and set out for the creek down in the ravine. The summer birds, thrushes and warblers and ruby-crowned kinglets, were returning after the winter, and they fluttered and trilled through the birch and spruce boughs. She had to climb over a storm-fallen spruce tree, but the wild grass was still low to the ground, and the devil's clubs hadn't grown to their full spiny height, so the walking was fairly easy. When the mosquitoes found her, she pulled the hood of her sweatshirt over her head. Even with her ears covered, she began to hear the murmur of the creek before she could see it. It was only as she was fighting her way through an alder thicket that she realized she'd forgotten her rifle. She'd fallen out of the habit of carrying it on her walks because there was no need in the winter. But the bears would be out of their dens now.
Well, that passage right there sort of illustrates what you just said. I mean, it's beautifully descriptive and just perfectly narrated. I love her pacing.
Yes, there's just something just really special about it, and she makes it sound, like, so easy, and you know that means there's probably, like, a lot of work behind it.
Exactly.
So I really love that of her performance and the way that she was able to capture that mood. this week we have a lot of different books that have a lot of atmosphere and like nature qualities to them. So maybe that's our theme
Oh,
this week.
okay. We have a theme. Who knew? Okay, that is Black Woods Blue Sky by Eowyn Ivey, read by Rebecca Lowman. Thank you so much, and I will talk to you tomorrow, Kendra.
All right, talk then.
Support for Behind the Mic comes from Thomas Nelson, publisher of the new women's fiction novel, The Filling Station, narrated by Vanessa Miller, available everywhere you get your audiobooks. And then don't forget to follow Behind the Mic wherever you get your podcasts. Leave us a rating, it does help people to find us. I'm Jo Reed. I'll talk to you tomorrow.